Devon's Dog Days here, and today we're working with Muha, the Wire Fox Terrier, in a pet clip. To get started, I'm using my Artero reactor clipper with the Artero Metaplex No. 5 attachment comb for her Sanitary. I'm using the attachment comb because Muha here is very sensitive to clipping if it gets too close to the skin, so using the attachment helps ensure that we don't end up with any irritation. I also use the Sanitary trim as an opportunity to clip her inner thigh with the attachment comb as well. Part of what makes this breed is a nice strong rear, and exposing that strong inner thigh muscle is an important part of that, whether it's for a show strip or a pet clip. Next up, paw pads. Because of her sensitive skin, I'm using my Artero reactor set to a 15 to clip out the pads of her feet, using gentle pressure and lightly scooping out the area between the pad of the foot and the toes, and then just behind the pad of the foot. Now time to smooth back those nails. Luckily, Muha here does a lot of walks around the neighborhood on hard surfaces like concrete, which helps keep her nails pretty short as is, so this is quick work. If you have a pet at home that tends to have long nails, be sure to take them for walks in between grooming appointments on hard surfaces like concrete or asphalt, being mindful that it isn't too hot for your pup to walk on. The friction of their nails making contact with hard surfaces as they strut helps wear those nails down and work those quicks back, which can help your groomer get your pup's nails even shorter on their next visit. And groomers, if your client is always asking for the nails to be as short as possible, this is a great tip to share with them. Next up, I'm clipping the inside of the ears using my Spectra set to a 15, working from the inside of the ear canal out toward the edges of the ear. I like to use this opportunity to try and get those pretty nice and clean, so it'll be an easy little touch-up after the bath. Switching over to my Artero Hit cordless clippers, I'm using a 7-blade with the grain on the ears and against the grain on the flat work areas. Similar to how I clip a poodle's face, I start at the lower corner of the ear out toward the corner of the eye, stopping just about 1/4 of an inch behind the corner of the eye to leave area for blending. Then from the corner of the ear again, I clip down to just about 2 fingers above the breastbone, again to leave some room for blending, and then up toward the chin, stopping just behind the canines on the lower jaw, leaving the goatee, which helps shape the nice brick outline of the head. This next step is probably the most important step when it comes to getting a really good finish on your strip and clip groom: raking and carding. I always start by working from the widest set teeth of my rakes down to my carding knife. Did you know that certain breeds of dogs can have upwards of 20 hairs growing out of a single follicle? An easy example of this would be your breed similar to German Shepherds or Huskies, who are heavy shedders. Wire-coated breeds also grow many hairs from a single follicle, but unlike other breeds that can naturally shed their coats, these guys need some extra help. That's because these wonderful wire-coated breeds were originally bred to do tough work, and with that tough work came tough coats to protect everything from their skin to their eyes and nose from rough terrain and foliage that would oftentimes naturally strip the coats of these dogs while they ran through dense brush hunting their prey. Since these fierce little hunters now live a life of much greater leisure, we as groomers and pet owners need to help keep their coats in good shape. Some of you might be thinking, why not just clip the coat? Isn't it easier on the dog? The answer is absolutely not. If you were to only clip this coat, all of the dead coats still left unplugged from those pores would create a multitude of issues, from dull coats that mat up much easier than the correct harsh coat, to clogged pores, ingrown hairs, cysts, and more. This is where the wonderful middle ground that is the strip and clip comes in. More affordable than hand stripping, a quicker grooming process, and still helps remove the majority of the dead coat that can become problematic for the dog in the long run. Now it's bath time. Because our girl Muha here suffers from environmental allergies, I like to use Artero Detox for her first bath. This shampoo contains activated charcoal, which helps remove any impurities from the skin and coat without harshly drying them out, and giving back vitamins and nutrients to help this girl walk out of the shop looking, smelling, and feeling fresh. While you can dilute the shampoo, I'm a small volume studio, so I like to pre-mix my clarifying shampoos and then use any specialty shampoos like Detox here straight, essentially diluting it right on the coat by adding water. I always love to use my Artero red rubber mitt, which I refer to as a curry brush, to help really work the shampoo down to the skin for a really good clean, and help loosen up and remove any extra dead coat that I can from those pores. I let the Detox shampoo sit for about 3 to 5 minutes to make sure it really gets the opportunity to work its magic, and then before rinsing, do a quick check on the anal glands before rinsing. The reason I prefer checking my clients' glands at this point is because there's a layer of shampoo on the coat preventing any smelly expressions from sticking to the dog, and I'm going to be going over the pup for a second scrub to make sure they get the best coat and skin cleansing possible. I leave fully expressing glands to veterinary professionals, but always like to check that the glands are not overly full, overly thick, and that they aren't yellow or green in color, which could indicate a possible infection that the owners can be made aware of and can contact their vet to get their pup checked out and treated promptly. For Muha's second scrub, I'm going with Artero Bye Bye, a tea tree oil based shampoo that has antibacterial and antimicrobial properties, making it the perfect shampoo for hand-strip clients to get a really good deep clean now that their skin can breathe again. Not to mention our girl here really loves swimming in the pool, and maybe a bit too much, and tends to get a little yeasty smelling in between her grooming appointments, so this really helps to get her skin back to balance. Again, I love to use my Artero red rubber mitt to make sure that I get a really good deep scrub and get that shampoo down to the skin to make sure that it has every opportunity to get a really good clean. This is another shampoo that I like to give the opportunity to sit for about 3 to 5 minutes and make sure that it gets all the opportunity to work its magic on her skin and coat. After she's had a good long soak, I like to make sure that I rinse her out completely. You always want to make sure that you get shampoo rinsed completely out of the coat of any dog that you're working on. Not only will it cause issues for the coat, but it's going to cause issues for the skin too that could result in a vet visit. So make sure that you have a good way to check that you have rinsed your dog thoroughly. I like to personally squeeze the water from the coat into my hand and check that there are no more suds in any part of the dog before I take them out of the tub. After her bath, I use my Artero microfiber towel with pockets to soak up all that extra moisture in her coat. I like to clean my ears using Artero Aerogel after the bath to make sure any moisture that may have entered the ear canal during the bath doesn't stay in there, and use my Artero ear wipes to remove any residual dirt or extra ear cleaner. I then run a slicker brush over her jacket area, and we take a little break where she gets to hang out under a box fan for about 10 to 15 minutes to help her coat dry flat to the body. After our little break, I use my Artero snake dryer to finish off drying her body as well as fluff her legs out. Time for the final groom. Starting off, I like to go back over the clipper work I did before the bath on the ears and flatwork areas. Clipping those areas before the bath just helps reduce drying time and make sure those areas get good and clean during the bath. Next up, I'm switching back over to my Artero reactor clipper using the purple Artero Metaplex attachment comb, which is equal to a number 4 attachment comb measuring in at 1/4 of an inch or 6 millimeters. I use the number 4 attachment comb for the front, top of head, body, and rear, being sure to drop or skim off over the hips and shoulders into the legs and leave that for my shears. It's important to go with the direction of the coat to get the most even finish. To get our legs in shape, I always start with the feet. Since we have already groomed the body into shape, once we have our feet nice, tight, and round, all that's left to do is connect the dots we've set with our body and our feet. Starting with my Artero Onyx curvy shears, I trim around the bottom of the foot so no hair hangs past the pads. Then, setting the foot back down, I hold my shears parallel to the table on each side of the foot, tilting it perpendicular in front of the foot to expose a bit of the toenails. Now to connect our dots. Using my Artero Alp 43 chunkers, or blenders if you prefer, I first groom the outside of the leg, dropping right off the shoulder and down to the outside of the foot. I then groom the inside of the leg to be parallel with the outside line that I just created, and groom the front of the leg as if there is a line dropping directly from the dog's ear straight down to the toe. For the back legs, I do very much the same, but in reverse. Because we want a nice strong rear with a good stance, I start by grooming from the inner thigh where we clipped before the bath and down to the inside of the foot. For the outside of the leg, I stand behind the dog and create a parallel line from the outer hip down to the outer foot. To make sure that I have really nice clean lines and that no hair sticks out once the dog starts moving around, I like to lift the back leg up and use my shears to clean up any hairs that I find sticking out past the lines that I've already created. Now, using my Onyx thinning shears, I'm going to work on this head. I prefer a finer tooth thinning shear for the face because I feel like it gives an even better soft finish to the brows and beard. Starting with scissoring the top of the head nice and flat, I then use my thinning shears to blend and neaten the sides and transitional areas from clipper work into the face furnishings. Next, I'm creating the outline of the brick-shaped head, drawing a straight line from the flat cheek down toward the end of the muzzle. Next, to help define the eyebrows and muzzle, I start from the inner corner of the eye and scissor up into the flat top of the head, only trimming the muzzle area enough so that it doesn't stick up above the top of the head. I also go back over the head, holding the ear tight and using my thinning shears to blend their transition into the head. For the eyebrows, I start by going over the top of the head, scissoring over the tops of the eyebrows to make sure that they're nice and neat and in line with the head. To make their shape, I scissor from the outside corner of the eye, pointing directly towards the outside corner of the nose. I then thinning shear the top of the muzzle to be nice and level coming out from between the eyes. After that, all that's left is to make sure that you go back over your groom, neaten up any things that's sticking out of place, and make sure that you are happy with the finish. And of course, no groom is complete without the finishing touches like a bandana and a delicious smelling perfume. Muha's parents were so thrilled with this groom and how good she looked, felt, and smelled. Thanks again so much for watching Devin's Dog Days. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on all of our social media so you can stay up to date on what we're working on next. Bye!